It has been many months since I've done any filming on this project, and I really didn't touch it very much over the summer. But here's what that area looks like, all done and seam sealed. Here's the passenger side rocker. I've got this all fabbed up and ready to weld in place. I've put some weld through primer on the areas where it will make contact. The driver's side, it's been sitting all summer here. I haven't really touched this thing all summer. I mean, I have a little bit, but not to any great extent. And you can see here, I mean, I did sandblast all of this, and I painted it with the Rust-Oleum rust converter, and you can see it's just kind of bleeding back through, which I'm sure there's some in between these two pieces here. There's not really much I can do to get in there other than disassemble it, which isn't going to happen. But either way, I think that paint should hold up a little better than that. And I think I'm going to go back to using the Eastwood brand rust encapsulator, because what I've sprayed with that stuff in the past seems to hold its own and keep the rust at bay for a little bit longer. Here you can see I did some patch panel work to that floorboard. That was all I had to do for the floorboards right here. And of course, in this wheel well, I had to do the same thing I did on the driver's side. I also had to do this piece here, which holds the seat belt bolt in place. I have to put a nut on here and weld that in place for the seat belt to bolt back, or the seat, excuse me, the seat to bolt back to. I really hope I can figure out how to put the dash back in it. I don't remember anything. That's gonna be a nightmare. So I got some help holding this rocker in place, and I just put a couple tacks on it, and there's a couple on the back side too. That'll hold it for now. You can see the patch I did on the firewall on this side, and you might be able to see on the floorboards. I can't see what I'm filming right now. And maybe you can see that patch right there. I had the kids help me hold everything together here and bolt the heater and I guess the HVAC unit, whatever you want to call it, in place here on the dash. I got the new heater core installed. There was nothing wrong with the old one, but I decided, well, it was all tore apart, and might as well just put a new one in there, so I didn't have to worry about that. Although this one is aluminum, and the one that I pulled out of there was brass, so I'm not really too happy with that, but it is what it is. Moving on. Just finished putting the engine bay back together. This is the first time I've seen it like this in a long time. I replaced the heater hoses that go to the core, and that's a new core. And this plastic tube I had broken, but I took in the old heater core hose and I slipped it over the hard plastic. I heated it up with a propane torch before I put it on, and I was able to press it over these here, or push. I guess that was a combination of the both. But that's on there pretty good. I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. I had to pull a PT Cruiser in here, so I got this Jeep together enough where I'd run on its own and have any problems. My card filled up before I was able to film it though, unfortunately. But I got it out and back in now, and I got my brother to help me take the doors off, and then I'll be able to get to the spots that I couldn't weld because the door was in the way and I couldn't open the door all the way. But that took a lot of adjustment on the welder to get that dialed in where it would weld kind of decent. But even still, I'm really not all that happy with the weld itself. It'll work just fine. It's just, you know, that's like, oh, I don't know, 16 gauge sheet metal, if that, probably thinner than that, and then 1/8 inch, 3/16. So to find a happy medium is kind of difficult, and it kind of just bubble gummed up on me, but I think that'll work just fine for what it is. Here's a quick look at the passenger side floorboard area. All the patches welded up and seam sealed. Instead of hitting this with a seam sealer, I decided just to put a skim coat of Bondo over it, or body filler, and that way there I won't have any like cracks and crevices and stuff for moisture to collect. Put a skim coat of Bondo on here, and I was going to sand it all smooth, but while I was waiting for it to harden up, I decided to tackle this hole on the inside, and I've got it opened up. I dug in there pretty good. Found there's a hole in that brace, so I'm probably going to have to make a replacement like I did on the other side. I got this brace all set and ready to weld in. I had made this one a little different than the other side. What I did was I took on a piece of square stock for the other side, this is, and I cut a slot in the end. Which end? Here it is. And I put that over the piece of metal when it was hot and bent it down to make those little ears on the side. And that took a lot of acetylene oxygen. On this side, I decided to use a press, and I found this piece of channel that was the same width as my flat stock I was working with. So I put that on there, and I put this piece of scrap on, and I was able to press this down and get the shape. Of course, since these aren't a perfect 90, I then came over here to this little tool that I made for my Hardy on my anvil, and I set that right down in there where I had it bent, and I drove it the rest of the way to a 90 with this punch. Of course, I did use heat on it. The hole that I had drilled, I made sure to line that up by taking a straight edge here, and before I cut the original out, I don't know if you can see those with the glare, there's a Sharpie mark there and on the other side, and I laid this across where the bolt was, and I made my mark, and I did side to side as well. I'll have a little adjustment when I actually put the seat down. I'll put my bolt through there and I'll bolt it all down, and once I've done that, then I'll go underneath and put a tack weld on the nut that I'll use, so I know everything will be lined up nice. So I guess I'm gonna get this burned in and work on putting this piece of patch panel here they had made. These will be for like spot welds to replace the originals that were there. I put some more Bondo on the rocker, and I got that smoothed down and got a coat of paint on there, well, a coat of primer on there, drying. And you can see here we have the floor patch all finished up. I took these outside and I sandblasted down around the lip, which is where it's the worst. Looks like I missed some there. I'll look at that later. But I just wanted to get that sandblasted so I can figure out what was going on here where the area was rusted out. But I think I'm gonna call it quits for tonight. Tonight is well, last night was New Year's Eve. This is New Year's Day. So I'm taking a look at my fenders after I got them sandblasted, and this is the driver's side fender. You're looking at the inside up where the wheel well is, and it's pretty well gone here. It's pretty bad, and I spent a lot of time making this here little patch. I just bent that in a 90, and then I snipped it with the tin snips a bunch of times, and I kind of worked it into the curve it needs to be. I've got the bodywork pretty much done on this. I still got to block out this final coat. This one wasn't nearly as bad as the other one was. I ground that down to bare steel, and I shot some weld through primer on that in the back of this little bracket that I had made up. Now I'm going to tack weld this on either side, and that is going to give me a place to shoot a screw through the fender and into this with a self tapper or something. I've just put 3 of the screws in the top here, and there's a attachment point here that I've got locked down, kind of holding it flush where it needs to be. And for one reason or another, this fender likes to bow out quite a bit, so I've got it pushed in where it's flush with the door here. And on the back side, I don't think you're gonna be able to see. Well, maybe you can. I've got my tab vice grip down onto the rocker where it's gonna sit, and by feel I can tell it's sitting flush all the way around there. So I'm gonna take the fender off and leave this clamped in place. Then I'll be able to put 2 tacks holding that little bracket in place. Here's everything all installed. Well, I don't have the screws on the side of this molding here, but I can pop this off. There you can see the bolt I just installed down there. And I guess I can close this out here now. What I plan to do is give this about a 3/8 hole here, open that up a little bit, give me a little bit of adjustment wiggle room, and do it to the other side, and then we'll be ready to shoot some kind of paint or undercoating, both, something on here, protect it, and that's pretty much it for body work.